guys, and welcome to another week of RYA Sell From Home. This week we're going to be looking at prioritising the race course. So what things you need to be focusing on at different areas of the race course to make sure that you're maximising your efficiency of where you're putting your energy so that you get the best out of each area of the race course. What we're going to start by doing is breaking the race course down into thirds. Certainly the first beat, and you'll often find coaches do this. They break the race course down into 3 sections, so just after the start, the midsection of the beat, and then approaching the mark. The benefits of this is it allows us to structure different sections of our race and focus on maybe some different priorities during that time. So that we've got less noise in our head, and we're able to make some clearer and more accurate decisions in those sections that are hopefully going to help us get the best out of our race. So first thing we're going to talk about is the first section. So just after we've come off the start line, the gun has gone. What are our priorities? What should we be thinking about? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is clean breeze and a lane. So lane holding is really, really important, especially in bigger fleets. So as you can see, we take number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 and 3 are both currently in good lanes with clean breeze. They've got a little bit of room to maneuver, as in they can bear off downwind or upwind a little bit, the same with this one. And they're both in clean breeze, so the wind is coming from the top and nothing's in the way of number 3's breeze, nothing's in the way of number 1. Number 2, on the other hand, is in a bad lane, so he's currently underneath someone, which means he's in dirty breeze. Okay, so no longer has a lane. What he now needs to be thinking about is, can I get out of this with speed by maybe pumping more or footing off a little bit to get up to speed and out in front, or do I need to tack? So priority number 1, do I have a lane? If I do, great. If I don't, I need to go faster, or I need to tack and find a better lane. Cool. That brings me on to priority number 2. So as I said, this is a busier area of the course. So priority number 2 is absolutely making sure that we put 100% effort in this area of the course so that we can get away from the busyness. The longer we spend in the busier area of the course, where there's lots of people, more potential to be in dirty breeze, which makes it more difficult to make decisions, the less likely we are going to be going as fast as we possibly can. So priority number 2 is making sure we're working to our absolute maximum during that first third, so that we can then make our move into the second third of the course, which is often a lot less busy. There's a lot more room to get clean breeze, a lot more room to go fast. So priority number 1, making sure we've got a clean lane. Priority number 2, maximum work rate. Okay, so moving on to the second third of the course. So this is a section of the course where we can probably start to think about our plan. So which side of the course is the best side of the course to be on? Do I want to be on the left because there's more breeze, the right because there's more breeze, or maybe on the middle? And there's lots of different reasons that we might choose different areas of the course, and I'll go on to that in a video in the next couple of weeks. But as I said, hopefully now we've got ourselves into a clean lane, we're out of that busy area, and now we need to start thinking about executing the right strategy for the type of day or for the course of the race that we're using. Okay, so main priority for second third, get to the right area of the course. Where's there more breeze? Am I on the right tack in the right shifts, and so on. Okay, so I'll just bring these upwind a little bit. So we've gone through the middle section. So brushed over that middle section of the course a little bit there, just highlighting that we want to make sure we're starting to execute the plan or the priorities for the strategy of the day. I'll go into those specifics a little bit more in a video in the coming weeks. And another good place to look for some information on that are the weather chats and the specialist chats that the RYA have been putting on. They're going to give you some really good information on tactics and strategy and things like that. So this middle section of the course is where we're going to really be looking at general tactics and strategy. So and the benefit of that is that we can look into the sailing world, not just windsurfing, for some tips on that. Okay, as we get into the top final third, the most obvious priority of this section is the ley lines. Now we need to start thinking about when we want to get to the ley lines, where the ley line is, and just keeping an eye out in general for where that mark is. Classic mistake in the techno fleet is that people end up coming in from right over here, and someone who's got their priorities right in this section, where they're really thinking about where the mark is and where the ley line is, comes in from this angle and in turn ends up sailing 50 meters less. So making sure we're sailing as short a distance as possible by knowing where the ley lines are is an absolute priority in this section. Another priority in this section, as I said, in section number 1, it's a really busy area of the course because the fleet are together, they're in the center of the course. Well, this is another area, it's not going to be quite as busy as the first third, but it's another area where the fleet come together and things are going to be really busy. So again, we're going to be looking at how can we hold lanes and making sure we're putting a maximum work rate to get in front of those bunches of people and stay out of the dirty breeze. Okay, so priority number 1 is ley lines. Priority number 2, again, we're looking at that work rate to try and make sure we stay in a good lane and clean breeze. Now the next priority kind of merges from upwind into downwind. As we're approaching that top mark, we want to start looking upwind and seeing where the breeze is coming down the course. That way, when we go around the top mark, that might help us, give us some information on which way we want to go downwind. On a really gusty day, if we know that there's a lot more gusts coming down the left-hand side of the course, and we can see that looking up the course, then we probably want to head down that way on the downwind. Now, as we get around the top mark, the downwind priorities are very dependent on the breeze. Now, if we're not planing downwind, we're scooping, we're generally heading roughly down the middle of the course. We want to try and make sure we're staying in clean breeze. It's really important, again, to make sure we're in clean breeze. The longer we're in clean breeze for the race course, the more of the race we're going to spend going faster, and hopefully get us to the front of the fleet again where there's more clean breeze, and it's just a whole lot easier. So clean breeze is everything. So for the downwind, I'm not going to split it into thirds anymore. We're just going to give you some basic priorities for the whole downwind. We might sort of split it into 2 sections, which are your downwind and then your approach to the mark. Okay, so your priorities for the downwind as a whole should be fairly similar. We already talked about clean breeze. The next thing we really want to be prioritising downwind, because it's a lot more manoeuvrable, we're able to sail at different angles. It's a lot easier to stay in, and obviously we're heading with the wind, it's a lot easier to stay in pressure because of that. So because we're moving with the wind, it's a lot easier to stay in pressure. So priority number 2 after clean breeze is making sure we're spending as much time in the pressure as possible. Now, just to highlight how we know we're in pressure. Okay, so if we look upwards or across the course, you'll see darker patches of water. Those darker patches of water are where there is more wind. So we want to be spending as much time near, or ideally in, those darker patches of water as possible. So that's an absolute priority downwind. If we feel like we're sailing out of one of those bits of pressure, it can often be a good idea to jibe so that we stay in the pressure. But hunting the pressure down is a really important strategy to sailing downwind. So the 2 main priorities for normal sailing downwind are clean breeze and staying in the pressure. As we approach the mark, we might need to start, depending on whether we have a gate or a regular mark, we might need to start prioritising our positioning. So as we approach the mark, if we've got a gate, then we need to make a decision as to whether we're going to take the left hand or the right hand mark. And if we are, we need to start committing to that side. The earlier we commit to that side, the easier it is for us to have rights at that gate, as we're more likely to come in as the inside board, and the inside board with an overlap will have room at the mark. So if you are the inside board, people will have to give you right of way to round the mark. So that's why it can often be a good idea to commit to whichever mark you're going to round earlier on, certainly in that second and last third of your downwind. So priorities of the downwind in general are just clean breeze and staying in the pressure. And as we approach the mark, we need to be thinking about which mark am I going to take and how do I get on the inside so that I have rights of way as I approach that mark. Okay, if we were on a trapezoid course, so we're doing like a box with a outer loop or an inner loop, we would have a reach at some point in the course. Now, I'm not going to split this into thirds like we do the upwind and the downwind, but there is one single priority that's absolutely imperative on a reach. And if you don't do it, then it's probably going to end fairly badly. So there's rare occasions where it can work. Now, as we come around the top mark, what we tend to find is people don't want people to sail over the top of them. And because of that, they end up sailing slightly higher than that straight line to the mark. And because of that, that ends up forcing the people behind to sail higher as well. Now, it can be very, very tempting. And it can be the same when you're coming off the start line as well. It's very, very tempting to go beneath people. Now, the danger with doing this here is that the moment you go beneath someone, you head into their dirty breeze, and all they're going to do is bear down on top of you to make sure that you don't overtake them at that point. So the priority, the single priority for a reach, is to make sure you're not, unless you're absolutely confident that you're going to plane underneath everyone with ease, and not get stuck in the dirty breeze, and you just need to hold the height with the person in front of you, try and get over the top of people rather than underneath. It's a much, much harder path, and that applies everywhere on the race course generally. The only place you really want to try and be getting inside and downwind of people is on the downwinds. Upwinds, again, it's the same. We want to try and make sure we're staying in those lanes and upwind. Okay, so as we've not had much opportunity to do some racing this year so far anyway, hopefully that'll just give you a few reminders and tips on how to execute certain priorities at different points of the race course. So yeah, those are kind of the whistle-stop stop tour on what we should be prioritising. If any of that is a little bit confusing or not understanding, get in contact with your coach, get in contact with anyone that is experienced in racing, or alternatively contact me on Facebook, on my Facebook or Instagram page, and I will hopefully answer any questions that anyone has. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hope everyone's getting out on the water at the moment, and I'll see you next week.